The Arrowverse started nearly 10 years ago, and ever since 2012 we've seen plenty of powerful villains on screen. Some more than others, but mostly all of them being freaking awesome. But which ones are the most powerful and did the most damage? That's what we're exploring today. It's an Arrowverse list, so you know it had to be me. Let's do it. In at 10, Prometheus. Prometheus, aka Simon Morrison or Adrian Chase, is the main villain of Season 5 of Arrow, and a villain of Oliver's own creation, even more so than Deathstroke. You see, Adrian Chase's real name is Simon Morrison, and he's the son of Justin Claiborne. Justin was on Oliver's list in Season 1 and was killed off screen, and is later shown in the flashbacks for this season. Simon posed as Chase in order to get close to Oliver after Prometheus learned that Oliver Queen was the Green Arrow after Tobias Church spilled the beans in earlier episodes. As soon as he was introduced, I knew that he would be the villain. Like, as soon as Adrian Chase was introduced, I knew he would be the villain, but only because whenever they introduce someone new, it's because that they're going to be evil. It was just like a case of logic at that point. But Prometheus had some of the most impactful moments on that show, really being the antithesis to Oliver, getting him to admit that his heroic crusade was just an excuse to kill people, which I personally don't like, but at the same time he was mentally and physically torturing him for days at that point, so that would explain why Oliver thought that it was true. He also was the only villain to really break Oliver, and he caused William to find out who his father is, and then he killed William's mother in the explosion of Lian Yu, which honestly should have killed more people than just Samantha, but whatever, plot. He also killed his own wife when she found out that he was the throwing star killer. So yeah, ruthless. And at 9, the Dominators. The Dominators were the alien race that served as antagonists in the first major Arrowverse crossover event, Invasion, who came to Earth in order to kill Barry Allen and any other metahumans after Barry altered the timeline to create Flashpoint and then couldn't put it back to exactly the way it was. This served as enough evidence to them that metahumans were dangerous, so they created a metahuman bomb that would wipe out every single one of them around the globe. They were defeated, and Firestorm managed to transmute the bomb into water, but damn, this was some incredible work. The Dominators even fell into the classic alien trope of abducting humans, in this case most of the Arrow cast, Diggle, Oliver, Thea, Sarah Lance, and Ray Palmer, to scan their minds for intel on the Flash and other metas while putting them in a sort of dream state to keep their minds occupied, resulting in probably one of my favorite episodes of the series ever. A Dominator even made an appearance in the next crossover, Crisis on Earth X, when they were introducing Supergirl while everyone was RSVPing to Barry and Iris' wedding. My question is, if these are the Dominators, where are the submissives? I had to do it. And at 8, Savitar. Savitar was probably the most easily predicted antagonist identity reveal in The Flash ever, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't a powerful and fun villain. They say that you are your worst enemy. However, in Season 3 of The Flash, this truly turned out to be the case. A time remnant created by Barry Allen to fight Savitar, Savitar created itself in its own form of weird paradox, where after killing Iris West, Barry is driven so far into the dark that his time remnant is so depressed that it becomes Savitar and kills Iris in order to ensure his own existence. It's weird, but it's interesting. And given the future Flash comic storyline where Barry comes back in time to kill himself, this was surely going to happen at some point. But where this character really shines is his power. He is the fastest speedster we've ever seen on the show, even with recent seasons, being so fast he seemingly teleports. But it's later revealed that he just time travels every time he runs, like he goes through the Speed Force and then travels back to like a second after he left, so it appears instant, but he is still fast enough thanks to the Savitar suit that he wears that he can get up to that time travel speed nearly instantaneously. He also, being a future form of Barry, has all of Barry's memories, and thus knows every plan Team Flash will come up with or ends up coming up with in order to stop him that Barry knows about. And if Barry didn't end up figuring out who Savitar was, they would have kept failing since they wouldn't know to keep Barry out of the loop. It's freaking nuts! And at 7, Rain. Samantha Sam Arias is a former Kryptonian world killer known as Rain, who was sent to Earth prior to Krypton's destruction. She was found by Patricia Arias, who raised her as her daughter, and as an adult, Samantha briefly became the acting CEO of L Corp before transitioning to position as the CFO, though she still partially held the former position on the behalf of her employer Lena Luthor. Samantha is a single mother of Ruby and a good friend of Lena, Alex Danvers, and Kara Danvers. Samantha remained unaware of her origins until her powers started to manifest, leading to the emergence of one of the strongest adversaries Supergirl has ever had to face. After Purity and Pestilence awoke, Rain noted that her human self Samantha was much stronger than she thought as they fought for control. She is the leader of the World Killers, a race of Kryptonians designed by the children of Juru through advanced genetic engineering and powerful dark magic after centuries of research. She has all the powers of a Kryptonian and then some, probably being the fiercest villain the show has ever seen, aside from ratings. I'm just saying that because it's ended, not because I don't like it. It only ended because like Melissa got pregnant and she wouldn't really be able to film Supergirl while pregnant, and I'm pretty sure that's why it ended. I don't think that the ratings were bad, but I had to make the joke. In at 6, Ricardo Diaz. Ricardo Diaz was the secret antagonist of the first half of the season 6 of Arrow and the main antagonist in the latter half of season 6 and the first 7 episodes of season 7. Ricardo, despite not having any real powers until like the very end of his arc, was an incredible adversary to Oliver, resulting in Oliver ultimately going to prison due to him exposing his identity as Green Arrow to the world as a part of a deal with the FBI to actually catch Ricardo. Ricardo Diaz is also the only villain in an Arrow season to not be defeated or killed in the final episode. Malcolm Merlin wasn't killed, but he did cease being a big bad after season 1, only serving as a minor antagonist and at some points an ally, so I don't really count him in this case. Diaz was also able to control basically all of Star City under Green Arrow's nose, who at the time was John Diggle. However, this corruption would stop at the end of season 6, but Diaz was still powerful enough to get into Slapside and nearly kill Oliver on his last day in prison, before threatening Felicity, since, as we all know thanks to CinemaSins, that the power of both is stronger than anything else. Halfway through in at number 5, Tobias Whale. Tobias Whale is the antagonist of all 4 seasons of Black Lightning, and was the most notorious crime boss in Freeland, as well as the arch nemesis of Black Lightning. Powered by a serum that grants him enhanced strength and longevity, which has given him decades of experience, Tobias is one of the most dangerous criminals alive. Fueled by anger due to the abuse he received for being an albino in an African American community, by his father in particular, he worked his way to the top of his city's criminal underworld as the leader of the Gang 100, as well as a high-ranking position in the city council. However, Alvin Pierce exposed him for being a corrupt politician, for which Tobias killed Alvin in front of his son Jefferson Pierce, who would later grow up to be Black Lightning. After the multiverse was rebooted by the Spectre, aka Oliver Queen, Tobias would later become mayor of Freeland, using his knowledge of the Pierce's family identity to continue his war against Black Lightning. Through the usage of an anti-aging serum, Tobias's DNA and cells are augmented, pushing his physical parameters well beyond normal humans, basically slowing his aging to remain in his prime despite being in his late 70s. Oh, and you know, the superhuman strength. He also for an hour of his life was able to turn invisible. So, there's that too. In at 4, Mallus. Mallus was a primordial time demon that was, according to John Constantine, a demon of the highest order, who was imprisoned in another dimension by 5 of the 6 tribes of Zambesi in ancient times. Unable to directly threaten the populations of other dimensions, he worked through his followers as avatars and interdimensionaries, before being released due to the actions of both the Legends and the Order of the Shrouded Compass, the latter of which was led by Nora Dark and her father, Damien Darhk. However, he was ultimately killed once and for all by the Legends, who were using the totems of Zambesi to manifest a weapon that could destroy him, which ended up taking the form of a giant Bebo doll. Oh man. According to Rip Hunter, Mallus was perceived as a myth existing throughout all of time, and known by many different names in all types of languages. Rip also states that the Time Masters were too frightened to even speak his name. Agent Ava Sharp mentioned that Mallus became a threat after the Legends broke time in the season 2 finale after destroying the Spear of Destiny and getting Reverse Flash killed by Black Flash, something that would later apparently become irrelevant, because he shows up again in Flash, so. Getting close to the end in number 3, Damien Darhk. Damien Darhk is certainly a powerful villain, and one of the only superpowered villains that the Green Arrow has gone up against in the Arrowverse, at least on his own show, the exception being Deathstroke. However, Damien is also one of the only villains to actually accomplish his goal, even if it was partially. And after the destruction of Haven Rock, his power was basically insurmountable, vaporizing bullets and arrows instantly when they got close to him. And he said himself that he didn't even mean to do that. And while he was killed by Oliver in the season 4 finale using the power of positive thinking, literally in this case, not like the Flashes, he still managed to come back as a part of the Legion of Doom in Legends Season 2, and later on be resurrected by his daughter in later seasons of that show. He sacrificed himself though so his daughter wouldn't become possessed by Mallus and turn into a monster like him, but still, after Haven Rock's destruction, he is one of the most powerful beings in the Arrowverse, period. If only we got to see more of that power. Penultimately, in at number 2, Reverse Flash. The Reverse Flash has had quite an impact on the Arrowverse as well, speeding up the timeline by 7 years, since the particle accelerator meant to give Barry his speed was actually meant to explode in 2020. I know in a previous list I said it was 6 years. Barry got struck in 2013, but his show started in 2014, that's why I got confused. However, Thawne posing as Harrison Wells made it in 2013, which gave Barry speed 7 years before he should have, which in turn created a whole new timeline. Something Reverse Flash I guess didn't understand when he told Oliver Queen that he was going to live to be 87 years old, in one of the later episodes of Flash Season 1. However, even after being supposedly wiped from the timeline after Eddie Thawne kills himself in the Season 1 finale, Reverse Flash has come back in almost every single season to my knowledge. I'm pretty sure it's actually every season. I don't think he showed up in Season 3 actually. And in the current Armageddon crossover, spoiler alert by the way since this is still ongoing, 3, 2, 1, made his own Reverse Flashpoint that turned him into the 100% pure Flash, and Barry into the Reverse Flash. Thawne even got to marry Iris in this new timeline, although it was like 13 years after Barry did, so Thawne clearly isn't really good at closing the deal. Finally, in at number 1, the Anti-Monitor. The Anti-Monitor was the main antagonist of the most recent and presumably final multi-show crossover event, Crisis on Infinite Earths. The Anti-Monitor is definitely the most powerful Arrowverse villain overall, because, well, he managed to not only destroy the universe, but the entire multiverse, causing the Paragons and the Spectre to have to time travel to the dawn of time to be able to fight him, since he had replaced the multiverse with the antimatter universe, which I personally believe is where the dceu version of these events take place, but that's a story for another day. He's really the only big bad of a crossover to accomplish his goal, and caused the death of Oliver Queen, since he had to die to create the new multiverse, which didn't really serve anyone that well, considering how Supergirl and Black Lightning, the two shows brought to Earth Prime by the Crisis, ended up ending the season after Crisis. And those seasons had no big crossover event. So like, I mean, like, it was partially because of COVID, but also just because of the sheer ripple effect that Crisis had on all the shows. The Anti-Monitor, though, went toe-to-toe with the Monitor in that crossover, who was shown already to be extremely powerful, basically a god. So, safe to say that this is the most powerful villain the Arrowverse has ever faced, and probably will ever face. That's all the time we have for today, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been and shall remain Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.